All right. Hey, welcome back, guys, to our very first day of the exciting week of AI in Stream 3. I'm Christy, and I am so thrilled to be here with all of y'all amazing educators and innovators.
And I'm Farmer Fobbs, joining Christy and giving a big shout out to Swivel, our platinum sponsors for this week. Their support makes this incredible journey into AI and education possible.
We'd also like to thank Brisk, who's made sure that we all look super sharp in our conference tees or hoodies. Remember that if you are ISTE bound, these shirts will be a free ticket to a exclusive ISTE meetup, so don't forget to grab yours.
All right, absolutely, Christy. Tonight we embark in a quest to not only understand AI, but to weave it effectively into our teaching practices. Let's get ready to unlock new potentials and transform education together.
So, kicking things off, we have a dynamic duo from Maine, Kate Meyer and Nicole Karod, known collectively as two Maine teachers.
With their combined expertise, Kate and Nicole are here to show us practical strategies and engaging activities focused on universal design for learning from basics to ethics. They are pioneers in empowering students as responsible AI users and creators.
All right, so let's go ahead and bring them up so we can learn from all of this great stuff. Hello, ladies. We're going to give this stage over to you guys, and I can't wait to learn from y'all.
Great. Thank you so much. We're so excited to share with you this evening. I'm Kate Meyer. I teach high school English and design thinking in Maine, where I have taught for 24 years. From 2021 to 2023, I had a unique 2-year position with our state's Department of Education, where I got to develop and deliver technology professional development all around the state. And that's how I kicked off my interest in AI in education.
And I'm Nicole Karod, and I teach middle school science and math in Maine and have been an educator for 20 years. I met Kate while we worked together at the DOE, and that's where my AI journey started. Together, we're two Maine teachers and have the goal of educating others about AI in the classroom.
So this evening, our purpose really is twofold. So first, we're going to talk about current response to AI in the classroom, and then we're going to share with you some engaging and practical AI protocols. So we're going to start with response to AI in the classroom. Ultimately, what we hope you'll see is that we are thoughtfully and carefully embracing AI in the UDL framework so that all of our students can have access to these tools and be supported while using these tools. So this is the story of my response to AI in the classroom. It's not the only way through, it's just one way through. And there might be parts along the way that you find helpful as you think about developing your own way through. So my mindset is really twofold with AI in education. First, I begin with empathy. Generative AI is new for all of us, and it's really expanding around us in real time. AI in education can't be us versus them. It really does have to be us together as co-learners with this new technology. Second, I believe that our use of AI in the classroom really has to be transparent, and it has to include ongoing informed consent. So what you're seeing on your screen right here is a permission slip that I send home to all my students because OpenAI requires explicit parental consent for users between the ages of 13 and 18. So permission slips get sent home so that parents know what we are doing. And this is a really good place to kind of just pause for a second and remind ourselves that we need to be checking the user agreements on all of the tools that we are using with our students, just to make sure that we're in compliance. So far, I have gotten a 100% return rate on my permission slips. And parents are really starting to engage in this conversation with curiosity, which is really great. So with those two pieces in mind, I committed this year to starting the school year with my students who are high school juniors with a focus on the ethical use of AI in the classroom. So I created an ethical use letter. I based it off of the work of Alice Keeler. She has a letter that she posted online that she invites educators to borrow and edit and make their own. And I included this list I'm going to share with you this evening about what I was thinking about in terms of ways that my students might want to use generative AI. Now, when I first started talking to my students in the fall, they had not tried ChatGPT yet. And all they knew, or what they told me was, all they knew was that some people were using it to cheat. And so they were really hesitant and skeptical about using it for school because they were concerned, right, that they might accidentally plagiarize or do something that would be considered unethical. So when I shared this list with them, they were really shocked to hear that it could actually do a lot more than just be a cheating machine. And really, I tell my students that, having ChatGPT write their essays for them, I think is like the lamest use case for it. And it really was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction that we kind of had as a society to a large language model, because we were like, oh, its output is language, well, then it can write my essays, right? But it does so much more than that. So we had conversations about the list I'm going to share, and we came to an agreement together that we would all be transparent about our use of AI in the classroom. And I did have a student say, hey, what happens if I try something with AI and then it turns out that oh, shoot, that was plagiarism, right? Will you give us a chance to correct it without being punished, without some, punitive action being taken? And my reaction was, well, of course, because we're all learning how to use this tool in education together. So I just really feel very strongly that that's the way that we should be approaching this with our students, really with a sense of curiosity and with a sense of openness and playfulness. So I teach my students how to use it for topic exploration. So I teach them how to prompt it to give them topics about things they might be interested in, how to use it for research assistance, so how they can use it to help generate keywords and topics. This is a great place to talk about AI hallucinations and how they have to be careful about that. I teach them how to use it for brainstorming sessions. So I always say, I think it's kind of a great thought partner to bounce ideas off of and see what ideas it bounces back to you. I teach them how to use it to organize their essays by sharing their main ideas for an essay, for example, and maybe asking for an outline or help with organization. And I also show them how to use it to edit and revise and give feedback on writing. And of course, we also talk about ways that I think are probably unethical ways to use it. So my students are all familiar with the term plagiarism, right? That's something we talk about in high school. So using AI generated content verbatim is clearly plagiarism. And so is assignment outsourcing. So using it to outsource assignments without any personal understanding, that falls under that unethical use. Using it to misrepresent your abilities. So having it generate work for you that isn't quite what you are able to do also falls under unethical use in my classroom. And then finally, improper reference checking. So again, we talk about hallucinations and how AI sometimes will make sources up. I show my students examples from my own chats where my chat robot has made sources up and sent me on kind of a wild goose chase trying to find them. So if they use it to source references, they have to then double check all those references, read them, make sure they're reliable. They can't just source those right from ChatGPT. So this is our initial agreement. I then use this chart that Matt Miller created actually for educators to talk about rethinking what plagiarism and cheating now looks like in the age of AI. But I use it with my students. And so I say, this is what educators are talking about. What do you think are ethical and unethical uses of AI? And my students all year have decided that those top 3 uses that you're seeing on this continuum are unacceptable. So it's an agreement that we have made in our class. If I had another class who decided maybe the top 2 were unethical and that other one we could use, we could talk about that and create an agreement together. Again, it's a really collaborative process, and we're approaching it as co-learners. And then if you need more lessons to talk about ethics with your students, I have done this lesson with freshmen from Blue Apple that gives scenarios to students, and they rate the scenario from very acceptable to very unacceptable in terms of use of AI in the classroom. And then that can spark really great discussion as well. This was a perfect starting place for freshmen. And that link is on the previous slide, along with some links to Common Sense Education's AI lessons. They've started putting out a series of lessons as well, and they're all scripted. So they're a great place to start if you don't know where to start in your own classroom. So Nicole and I developed this acronym, HUMAN, to help us think about and talk about AI use in the classroom. So while we are really excited about AI in the classroom, we also always want to remember to keep the human in the loop. So these are the steps that Nicole and I believe that we can all take to make sure that this happens. So H stands for HALT. Before using AI, we need to pause and think about whether or not AI is appropriate for the task. So is it ethical use? The very first way I use AI with my students is through my modeling how I use AI in my own teacher workflow to create materials for them. So I make sure to include snippets like what you're seeing on the screen here when I use AI to create materials for class. So I'm modeling being transparent about my AI use. So this is a screenshot from the assignment sheet I give my students, and I say, here's the prompt that I gave ChatGPT. Please feel free to use any of the questions that ChatGPT generated from this prompt for your elder interviews that we're doing in this project. The prompt that I gave was my 16-year-old students will interview elders as part of a unit with the essential question, how can hearing stories from various generations broaden our perspectives? And then I asked the robot, what can my students ask their elders to help them answer the essential question at the end of this unit? And it generated this beautiful list. It categorized all the questions, gave it headings and subheadings and all sorts of great things. And I gave it to my students and I said, what do you think? Is this an ethical use of AI? In one of my classes, it actually really began an interesting conversation where one of my students asked if they were being evaluated on the questions. And I said, well, no, you're not being evaluated on the questions. The evaluation is going to come later when you do whatever it is that you're about to do with the answers. And so they decided and had a conversation with me about the fact that, well, if it's the answers that are important, then using ChatGPT to generate the questions was an ethical use. So it really comes down to this, right? Like I can labor over the creation of the questions, or I can have them labor for days over the creation of the questions, or ChatGPT can write the questions and we can spend time evaluating them, editing them, and then using them, which frees us up to engage in the conversations with our elders, which is the whole point of the activity, and it gets us there really quickly. So that helped them feel a little more confident about AI. The U in our acronym is for understand. So when using AI, like whenever we're using any learning materials, we have to understand that we might get some biased output, and we have to be ready to check that bias. Jane Rosenzweig, who is a director of Harvard's Writing Center, gives us these AI-generated images and commentary on her Twitter account. So ChatGPT designed this line of dolls that all are strikingly similar. She asked Copilot to draw a female CEO who is strong and does not wish to get married, and all those images have a vibe. And then she said, but what if she does not wish to get married? And you can see all of those images look a certain way. And then she said, create a teacher, a nurse, and a successful CEO. And I'll let you figure out who's who on that slide. So I do share these with my students. I say we have to be aware of bias. But prior to coming up with these graphics from Jane Rosenzweig, conversations about AI bias had not come up in my class before they actually experienced it. So I had a group of female students who were using AI to generate ideas for titles for a podcast that they were producing. After giving ChatGPT information that they wanted to incorporate into those titles, they started to get some really interesting output. And I heard like an exclamation from the corner of my classroom, and I walk over and I'm like, what is it? And they said, Ms. Meyer, all the titles are coming back related to girl power. It's all like glitter and makeup and clothes in our titles. What is happening? And so I said, well, let's check your input. And so when I looked at what they put into ChatGPT, it was quickly evident that they had described themselves as 3 female high school students, which then prompted the AI to generate titles that it thought related to girls. So they were a little bit miffed, but that opened up a conversation about AI. And I knew at that point enough about bias to begin the conversation. But again, we quickly became co-learners as we started researching AI bias together. And in about 15 minutes or so, we found information, discussed it, and agreed that we'd share more examples of bias as it happened. Once we use generative AI to create something for us, we have to make it ours. So that's where our M comes in. So we have to ask, does it sound like me? What can I do to add to this or to make it mine? I teach this skill to my students through the use of generative AI for writing feedback. So one of the first pieces we write together is a little 100-word memoir. Once students have drafted and conferenced with each other, I have them use AI to offer feedback. This is the prompt I give them here on the screen. And I also give them links to models of chats that I have generated so that they can see how they might want to think about interacting with the bot, because they do sometimes struggle to understand that it really should be a collaborative conversation and not just inputting their writing and taking that first suggestion that it generates. And as the semester progresses, our use of AI for writing feedback changes and shifts. On workshop days now, I ask students to independently use ChatGPT to get feedback on pieces that they're writing, while I use Brisk to generate feedback for them on the same writing. And then at the end of the class period, we compare and evaluate the output of the two tools, deciding what feedback is helpful and what generative AI's limitations are when it comes to giving feedback. And then, like teaching them that they have agency to decide what to do with that feedback. We also need to be ready to assess the accuracy of the output. So if we're getting factual information from generative AI, can we find evidence to back up its output? We begin this skill while reading graphic memoirs in my classroom. I ask students to hold a conversation with their chatbots about the historical context of the books that they are reading. This exercise allows them to explore their interests as they find them in the text and then follow any rabbit holes that open up along the way. This is a great place to pause and teach students the skill of lateral reading. That is, using keyword searches and multiple tabs to source, to fact check their sources of what they are reading online, including AI generated output. John Green has a great lateral reading crash course if you're interested in more, and I've linked it up on this slide for you. My students cite their use of AI in every assessment if they use it. I give them the prompt: if you used AI to support your process, please detail how you used it and include links to your chats. So you can see how one student answered this reflection question and her part of a chat, and the part of a chat that another student shared. And extra points if you can spot what made me literally laugh out loud about this chat that she was having with her chatbot. Because we have done so much work together with AI, my students are really confident in their use of it, determining independently if their use is ethical or not. And because I approach AI in education with empathy and as a co-learner, they are really confident in disclosing their use to me, knowing that we are all going to learn about these tools together. In the end, I'm accomplishing what I had hoped to accomplish this year. I ruined AI for them because we used it together to realize that it's not magic. It's not even intelligent. It's a tool that they can use to their advantage to empower them to improve their individual learning processes. I asked them to tell me what they wish teachers knew about AI, which I think is the perfect ending to my response to AI in the classroom. You can see that they want to be taught how to use it ethically. They know that it's a tool. They want us to understand that it's not the enemy. And they also want us to know that it helps students who learn at different or slower paces by letting them be able to summarize, take notes way easier before. And finally, that most of them have as many questions about it as you do.
Nice. I love hearing about what you're doing in your classroom. And I see in the chat that someone called out that your students are making it call them Your Majesty. I absolutely love that. So now that we've looked at the way Kate is doing it in her classroom, we want to provide you with some AI protocols to help you with what you're doing in your classroom. So we have to start here with, when do I use AI? This is a question I often get, and I like to equate it to learning to read versus reading to learn. So when we're learning to read, we are learning the basics and foundational skills. So if you're teaching these foundations, you're probably not going to use AI. Instead, you're going to ensure that your students are practicing the skills to learn and get better at whatever it is that you're teaching. Whereas if you're reading to learn, your students already have those foundations or the basic skills. And the question becomes, can you use AI to enhance what you're doing? I know that for me, I'm guilty of saying I didn't get to all my content, or I wish I could go a little bit deeper. So this is the perfect place to incorporate AI to help you do just that. So why AI protocols? AI protocols level the playing field, allowing teachers to have a place to start. I think that's the hardest part, and providing practice for our students when using AI. Protocols become a place where we can enter this new AI world together. So teaching our students how to use AI and using it across the curriculum gives students access to the curriculum, which in a classroom where we want all students to have access is crucial. We also like using protocols because it's not just one more thing, which we know that we don't need any more things. These are repeatable practices that you can grab and go no matter the subject. So our first protocol that we'd like to offer is media investigation. So this slide, it's got a lot of information, and we know that it's not great for presenting. However, we want you to leave our session with tools that you can use tomorrow. So we've set it up so you can see the objectives and the instructions to use this tomorrow in your classroom. So instead of working from this slide, we're going to look at this a little bit more into practice. So this activity has your students working with a set of resources to learn more about and create a mindset to always question where information is coming from, which we need them to do in this AI world. So I create a Padlet for the topic that we're talking about. This could be anything from tectonic plates to World War II. It's whatever your content is. And the beauty of this is that Padlet, if you haven't checked it out in a while, can help you to do this. You can ask it to create a Padlet with resources about, say, photosynthesis. And then what it creates, you then take it and make it your own. I like to include resources that are obviously true and they're from great resources or great sources, and then some that are obviously not true, and then the ones that are in between, the questionable ones, the ones you're not sure of. And then I also like to include resources that are AI generated. I have a Padlet example here, so if you guys want to grab that, and it's really around just the emphasis of good media literacy, and you'll see some that are in there that are very obviously not true, and so they can start good conversations. But if you're doing this in your classroom, you're probably going to want to do it around your content. So I start out the class with the Padlet about the content I'm teaching or have already taught, and don't give any instructions other than like, comment, and post as if they're on a social media platform. I might give a tutorial on Padlet so they know what they're doing for each of those things. Then after a little bit of time is up, I have the students get into small groups and talk about these questions. So the first part is where students really share how they interacted with the media. And this gives them that chance to kind of laugh it up at the ridiculous source that I might have put in there that maybe was AI generated. And so they can have those moments and that they were able to spot right off. Then the next part is what you want students and adults to do often. We want them to click on the link and learn a little bit more. We want them to ask, is it true? We say, did you go in and verify a source by liking or comment? I know I'm guilty of doing this, of not checking those sources. So getting our kids in this mindset. Once they've had the chance to discuss, have them go back and identify the inaccurate information and flag those ones that are questionable. And then go through and have them determine why. This gets them in that mindset to think about accuracy, and it's on point with your content. It's also a skill that we want our students to have in this world of AI. So next up is a protocol that's one of my favorites. It's called Hello AI. And this is where students can think critically about AI outputs, understand that AI is a tool. Kate and I have emphasized that a lot, as well as get some great learning around the content I'm teaching. So this part about recognizing the AI tool is important, both because we want students to properly use it as a tool, and also because there's something called the ELIZA effect. And this is when a person attributes human level intelligence and understanding to an AI system. And it's very easy for our younger students to do this, but I think anybody can do this. So as educators, we really need to help students examine outputs and keep the human in the loop. So with this protocol, you're having your students interview a character, and that character could be a historical figure, a famous figure, a book character. Students will go back and forth asking the character questions, encourage them to ask relevant questions, but also have them ask the fun questions like, what's your favorite color, or what do you like to eat? So once they've had a little bit more time to ask questions, have them share out, because there's always something that, they found interesting, or they'll have some ahas with that. And then demystify it, asking them, well, how did the AI know this information? Was it accurate? Was there something missing? Could you do something similar if you researched the character? Could you take on that persona? And then breaking it down even more and asking them to think about those questions, like, what is your favorite color? And it's not maybe something that's documented. So why would the machine generate this? How do they know to put that information out? And really getting your kids to critically think about it. Again, this helps our students identify AI as a tool and create the mindset to question information. There's a variety of tools that will help you to do this activity, including Hello History, Humi, and School AI, which have preset prompts for you to use. And you can use any LLM with this prompt where you're saying something like, you are blank character, answer any questions using the knowledge of that character. And all of those images have links on them, so you can go to those tools. So I am not an ELA teacher or a history teacher. So I went in and I wanted to change it up a little bit. And I said, well, can you take on the personality of an ecosystem in Maine and answer questions from that? Or could you be a fraction, or the Star Spangled Banner, or Vincent van Gogh? And it was able to do that. But again, afterwards, questioning, asking the students to think about and analyze the output for accuracy, and understanding that that it is a tool generating these responses. And then don't stop there when it comes to examining AI output. So get in the habit of doing this. When we're creating a mindset around always questioning the robot. If your students are creating a song, ask them to analyze it. Say, is there something missing? Brisk is a great tool that will create an exemplar. So maybe you're having the students analyze the essay, asking, did it provide evidence? You could have them grade it with your rubric. Again, get your students in the habit of always questioning the robot. So the last student protocol is getting descriptive with AI images, where the goal is to use images to bring learning to life and have students be more descriptive. To start with this one, we're introducing students to text to image generators and having them create their own avatar. So show them how to use it and let them play, come back together and have them share about what worked and what didn't. Then have them play some more so that they are getting an idea of how it works, and how the more descriptive you are, the better it works. And I don't know how many times I've asked my students to be more descriptive, but this is a way to do that. So once students have had the chance to create their own avatar, discuss how images might be used. Ask them if these images should be labeled. You can discuss ethical use and ask if the avatars created look exactly like them, and why not. Again, you can ask them about how the machine knew how to create these things and where did that information come from. These are just some best practices that I've come up with and that I use, which is to identify and label images that that they're AI generated. You can see that throughout this presentation. Ask, is it ethical use, or if it's missing anything? What are you doing with this image? Do you need to do a reverse image search and see if it looks really close to another piece of art? And then the last piece is really thinking about the prompt that you're using. Does it include copyrighted material? Companies are getting better at putting guardrails up around this. And we need to also help to be good stewards of this technology. This is a great place to start with a policy in your classroom about how to use AI images. This is a great for younger grades where AI text might not be as much of an issue, but addressing it early teaches them about limits and boundaries, and then it can translate as they get older. There are some great image creators. I love using Canva with students because it has great guardrails. Once your students know the boundaries, you can have students use this as descriptive prompts to describe their story or poetry. You could use it for SEL activities, or one of my favorites, which is figurative language. So a little challenge for you. Anybody know? So this is some figurative language for the very first simile. Anybody know in the chat what this first one is on the left? Little test. Hopefully you can see it. Or if you have any of them, so you could say one is something, 2, 3, or 4. Anybody know what they are? I'll give you a couple seconds to guess, and if not, then I'm going to move on and give you the answer. Yes, the first one is busy as a bee. Anybody have the second one? So we've got barrel of monkeys. Excellent. And we've got 2 more to go. And I love this because you can have kids create this, or you can create it for them. And so we have the world is my oyster. And then I think the last one is probably the easiest one, which is raining cats and dogs. And the answers are on the next slide so that you have all of those. So we did want to have you, we want to also have some teacher protocols or best practices. So Kate mentioned this at the beginning, but it's important to check terms of service and privacy agreements for the tools that you're using. Age requirement and consent is important, considering using the tool demo as a demo style versus student login if the age requirement isn't right. Ask what data is being collected and teach your students to do that as well. Never put personal or identifiable information in. Try out the tool. I always say break it. See what, put those things that you think your students might put in. And if you don't like how it's working, don't give it to them, or wait a little bit and try it again because these tools are changing. And then the last one is my absolute favorite, and I think Kate does an excellent job of this, is of model what you want your students to do. So we have to show them and work together to navigate this world. And then lastly, we want to leave you with this idea, and it's something I learned a long time ago, and I hope somebody has said it to you along the way about technology, but we're going to apply it to AI. And that is, don't just AI to AI, but you've got to make it purposeful in your classroom and do it for what you need in your classroom. And then lastly, we are doing a t-shirt giveaway. And I went and posted, and now I can't find my slide. There we go. All right. So we're doing a 2 Main Teachers t-shirt giveaway on our Facebook page. I just posted it. Hopefully it went. We will have this slide, and you're going to like our page. You can comment about how you're going to use AI and like the post. And then on Friday, we will be back with Amanda to draw a free t-shirt. And I'm hoping that one of our friends can put that in the chat for us. I think that I gave them the link. And then lastly, we are, again, 2 Main Teachers. This is us. Our socials are here, and that's it. I think we had record time. Excellent. And that Facebook is in the chat. So click on that and go over to that post and like it. And we will do a t-shirt giveaway at the end of the week.
That is so awesome, ladies. Thank you so much. It was such an exciting session, and it's so clear that integrating AI with a focus on UDL can truly transform all of our educational outcomes and approaches.
Yeah, Christy, it's all about empowering our students to navigate the digital world ethically and effectively. So thanks, Kate and Nicole, for such a groundbreaking presentation. I love the graphics. Like, that was so fun.
Thank you so much for having us. That was a blast.
It was. We had a lot of fun creating them.
Right.
Hello and welcome to the Premium AI Strategy Accelerator, the ultimate program for schools, colleges and universities and businesses that want to lead in the AI revolution. Before you apply, let me tell you how this program works. Who is this program for? We focus on helping a hand-picked team of 6 to 10 change makers in your organization. And this elite innovation squad will become your internal startup, pioneering AI-driven solutions that define your organization's future.